Hello, and welcome to the first lecture for our course, Phil 101, Introduction to Philosophy for UNLV. I'll start out with just a brief statement about what philosophy is. It can be confusing. We have some idea, but maybe it's hard to know, what philosophy is if we haven't really studied it. So I'll give you something about that. We'll ask, what is philosophy? What are the major subdisciplines of philosophy? What is the method of philosophy? And why study philosophy? So here's me giving credit where it's due. You can, you look up those sources if you really want to. So what is philosophy? What do you think, right? Think about it. You could even pause the video at this point and maybe scribble down an answer, what you would say philosophy is. Unfortunately, I can't engage with you on that. It's an online course, but you can say something about it if you want to in the first discussion board assignment. So I take it that philosophy is an activity. It's a way of thinking about certain sorts of questions, namely life's big questions. And its most distinctive feature is its use of logical argument. So we're looking at life's big questions from the framework of logic, evidence, reason. Right, so this is not a field where we accept things on the basis of, say, authority, or accept things because of tradition or because they make us feel good or something like that. It's a discipline where we try to question everything and see if there is any good reason for believing something. Now, I guess that's an ideal for our discipline. However, philosophers are human. And they sometimes believe something irrationally, or they don't have good reason for it, or they believe it because they've been told or something like that. So yeah, philosophers are human, and they can believe things for the wrong reasons as well. So the discipline is aimed at truth, although sometimes things get messed up along the way. So what sort of questions? Life's big questions. And in some questions dealing with the meaning of life, broadly construed, very broadly construed. So what are some of life's big questions? These are some of the ones we'll look at in the class, actually. What is knowledge? Can we know anything? What is right and wrong? What is the point of our existence, or does life have meaning? Unfortunately, we will not ask that question in the class. But I can send you a PowerPoint of my presentation on it if you want it. What is the universe like? Which obviously is partly a scientific question, but it's also a philosophical one, especially where does the universe come from? That's more well, it depends. I was going to say it's more a philosophical question than a scientific one, but if you just mean, where, how did the universe get going once the Big Bang got started? That's a scientific question. But if you ask what caused the Big Bang, that's actually a philosophical question rather than a scientific one. Okay, so does God exist? Related to where the universe came from. And if God exists, why is there suffering in the world? And my personal favorite, if God exists, why is there Justin Bieber in the world? Okay, what are the major subdisciplines of philosophy? That's metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. So metaphysics has to do with the nature of reality. What is being? What things exist? Of the things that exist, what are they like? Right? So questions in this field are like, does God exist? Do human beings exist? What are human beings like? Do we have a soul? Is the mind physical? Those are all, do we have free will? Those are all metaphysical questions. And then within epistemology, epistemology is the nature of knowledge, has to do with the nature of knowledge. And, you ask questions like, what is knowledge? Can we have knowledge? What justifies a belief? That is, what would serve as sort of evidence for, good evidence for holding to a belief. And then ethics, that has to do with right and wrong. What is the nature of right and wrong? How should we live? What's the good life for human beings? Those are all ethical issues and questions. And in this class, we're going to kind of sample all three areas of philosophy. metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics.
And then there are other disciplines. There are as many disciplines as there are.
I mean, there are other disciplines within philosophy as there are disciplines. So political philosophy, that would be like political science done a certain way. Philosophy of science, philosophy of religion, philosophy of law, philosophy of art. I mean, basically, philosophy of anything, philosophy of X. You could fill X in with anything and there would be a philosophy for it. But we're going to focus on metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics since it's an introduction to philosophy, and I want to give you, the main kind of issues. All right, so that's the end of the little presentation here on what is philosophy.